Hey guys, welcome to Piano Shack with me, Woody. In today's video, I'm going to highlight the differences between this, the original DX7, and this, which is the DX7S, one of the Mark II models. Let me reposition the camera and we'll get started.
Woody Piano Shack.
Okay, let's start with the obvious cosmetic stuff. The DX7 here on the bottom, the original Mark I, as you might be able to see in this light, I'm not sure, it's a rather tasteful brown and green colour scheme, which I really like. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, the synthesizers tended to be quite colourful, so this is certainly following in those trends. But if we look at the DX7S up here, you can see they've gone for a more black, sober look, which was more of the trend at the time. This was roughly when the D50 came out and slightly before the M1 came out, and those synthesizers tended to be jet black and a little bit more minimalistic than the colourful designs of yesteryear. Personally, I think I prefer the look of the original DX7. It's got that quirky, funky look to it that I really dig. On the DX7S, they've replaced the buttons with these real clicky, rather nice, clearly marked buttons here, whereas the original one had quite small, sort of flush membrane buttons in the same style as the old computers of the early 80s, like the Sinclair ZX80 stuff. These ones are prone to breaking and sort of damage, but on this particular example, they are in perfect working order. Also here, the DX7S has a volume slider and then two assignable sliders which you can assign to various parameters. I've never actually figured that out. This one only has a single data entry slider. Actually, maybe one of these doubles as data entry and some sort of controller thing. And yes, the DX7 Mark II has a lovely backlit LCD, although it's the same size as the DX7, which is down here. This one is not backlit and a bit of a struggle to see unless you have a light shining onto it. On the other DX7 Mark II models, this is even a longer screen as well. I think they've doubled the length or tripled the length of that to make it a lot more readable and to show more information. Now, under the hood, there are several improvements, of course. MIDI is one of them. The DX7 was one of the first synthesizers to ever have MIDI back in 1983, and the MIDI implementation was not so great as you would expect from one of the first synthesizers to have it. One of the most famous things is that this one supposedly only transmits velocities up to 100, whereas the MIDI spec says it should be 127. Of course, that's fixed on the DX7 Mark II, plus a bunch of other MIDI stuff that I don't really know so much about. The original has 32 sounds. You just have 16 there, 16 there, 32 sounds to choose from. This one, on the other hand, has the same 32 buttons, but they are in two banks. I can press a button here to switch between 1 and 32 and 32 to 64, giving me double the patch memory. It also has a performance mode here, which on this particular one, the DX7S, which stands for DX7 single timbre, it's a pretty useless performance mode. It allows you to assign foot pedals to things and set up the tuning of the instrument, but that's pretty much about it. Whereas the DX7 Mark II models actually used it to do something quite useful. You could layer and split sounds. So up to 2 sounds you could have playing at once, which was quite a useful feature, I think. Let me explain a bit about the differences between the DX7S and the other DX7 Mark IIs. I think it was 1988, may have been 1987, Yamaha released the DX7 Mark II, and there were 3 models available there. There was the DX7S, which was the budget one, the cheapest one. We had the DX7 Mark II, which was the same as this, but with the 2-channel multi-timbral operation and a longer LCD display. And then there was the DX7ii, which is the floppy disk model. And on one of those floppy disks, you can store thousands of bank patches. So that is the best model to get if you can find one. Another thing I noticed over here is the ROM cartridge slot, where you can put in a cartridge with extra sounds, just like on the old game systems. On the DX7S, it's over here. And I've noticed they're slightly different sizes. Let me go and get some cartridges right now. Okay, so here we have 2 of the ROM cartridges. This one looks to be an original DX7 cartridge that fits into that slot there. This one obviously is larger. quite a bit larger. So there's no way that's going to fit in there. And likewise, this one is not going to fit into the DX7S, which is crazy. I don't know why Yamaha chose to do it like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. These days anyway, you don't need to worry so much about that. I know these cartridges can be quite expensive on eBay. Expect to pay about 50 bucks. But I don't really see the point, because you can connect these synths to the computer with MIDI, download all of the data from all of the cartridges that were ever made and load them sort of instantly into the synthesizer anyway, so just do that instead. So the other thing that differs between these two is the sound itself, of course. Now, the Mark II added a number of enhancements to the FM frequency modulation sound engine, making it a slightly more powerful synthesizer. But it was backwards compatible, so you could load all of the sounds from the DX7 into the Mark II, but not the other way around. The other difference that people tend to talk about a lot is the quality of the digital to audio converters. This one has 12-bit converters, this one has more modern 16-bit CD quality converters, meaning that this one has a more grainier, dirtier, noisier sound. And I think we should put that to the test now. So each synth is connected to my digital audio recorder here. This is a stereo device. Each of these synthesizers is mono, so that means I can record the DX7S on one channel and the DX7 on another. And then this is going into a keyboard amplifier over there. Sorry, it's a guitar amplifier, not a keyboard amplifier. I'm going into the aux input, so I should be able to hear both keyboards at the same time. Let's start this thing recording and check the levels. Okay, we can't do an exact comparison because they have different presets. This one has the Mark II presets, this one has the Mark I presets. It should be possible to load Mark I presets into this, but I never got it to work. So it won't be an exact comparison, but I'll try and find presets that are similar, and you guys can listen to the audio quality and see if you can hear any difference. I've got some string sounds to start with. Let's have a listen. Okay, and the audio you'll be hearing is from the digital audio recorder down there, not from my microphone and the amplifier, so you can really hear for yourselves in the best quality what the difference is. Okay, let's do the famous piano sounds. Not exactly the same sound, but it'll be close. Let's have a listen. It's a much brighter sound on that. I think it's in the preset, not so much the digital audio converters. Let's find a few more just for fun. A brass sound maybe. And some marimbas, why not? Let's find some marimbas. Actually, I'm noticing this one does have a softer, warmer, slightly mellower sound, whereas this one cuts through. It's a lot harsher and brighter. I like both of them, but this one has a certain warmth that I quite enjoy. Okay, before we wrap this up, I'm just going to discuss a few of the other DX models that Yamaha released about this time. There is it's called the TX7, which was basically one of these, the original Yamaha DX7 Mark I, in a little desktop box with a very limited number of buttons, probably quite hard to program, but if you want the sound of the DX7 in a little compact module, then that's the way to go. Also, they released a TX802, and this sounds like a massive instrument. This is a rack module. I think it's sort of 2 or 3 deep, so it's quite a big module. But this one had all the functionality of the DX7 Mark II, but it was capable of playing 8 parts at the same time. Yes, it was 8-part multi-timbral, so you're getting 8 DX7 Mark IIs in one rack unit. That thing must be a monster. Also, there were a couple of cheaper DX models with a slightly simplified sound engine with just 4 operators perhaps. I'm not sure of the details, but that's stuff like the DX100. I think the DX27 was the other one. These were also slightly more compact and maybe not so well built as these two. One thing just occurred to me, the action about these people are probably going to ask me. Let's have a look. Very similar, but top quality actions in both keyboards. This one perhaps a little bit more clicky, a little bit more clunky. It makes a bit more noise than this one, but they're both absolutely fabulous. The DX7, I should also say, is slightly better built than the DX7S, the Mark II, but by today's standards, both of these are absolutely fabulous and they weigh a ton. Let me also mention one other DX7 model that I've never seen. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen for you guys. So this is called the DX7 Centennial. I guess it was released in 1997, 10 years after the other DX7 Mark IIs. It's basically a DX7 Mark II with an extra long keyboard at 76 keys, which glow in the dark. Yes, they're luminous. As you can see, the case is silver with gold buttons. And there were only 300 made of these, and the original cost was a whopping $3,500. I'd love to see a picture from my viewers. If any of you are lucky enough to own one of these rather special DX7s, then do let me know in the comments, and please go ahead, share a photo. You can hit me up on Facebook and share a photo of this. I'd love to see a picture from somebody that owns a DX7 Centennial. Okay, that's it for today then. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. I'll play you out with some little ditty on both of these synthesizers right here. I'll see you next time. Cheerio.
Woody Piano Shack.